A few years ago, I had to go to Tokyo to do a Fujiya Avic show. There's a big headphone show in Tokyo. Well, it's not that big, but it's big. It's big enough.
Relatively.
It's like a Can Jam in Tokyo.
Right.
One of the stores there that happens to have the same name puts on the show. I think twice a year.
Yeah, could be.
I think it was twice a year.
Spring and fall, I think.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. But it's their version of a Can Jam. So I went there to do the show with our distributor at the time. And anyway, you're staying in a hotel room in Tokyo, right? And what do? I mean, everything closes like 8 p.m. It's not like, staying up late is useless. So you're up early, right? You're up at 6. And it's like, okay, where do I go? Well, it just so happens there was a Starbucks right across the street, which opened at like 6 a.m. So it's like, oh, I'm going there. And so every morning, that was my ritual. I was there, 5 days or whatever. And every morning I'd go to Starbucks and I'd get a piece of green tea cake because I needed something for breakfast. There was nowhere else to go. There was a hotel and Starbucks, right, where I was for the show. So green tea cake, and I wound up matching it up with a green tea latte. And it was, breakfast every morning, breakfast to champions. I was familiar with it. And the cool thing about Starbucks is doesn't seem like where you go in the world, it always tastes like Starbucks, which is kind of neat if you think about it.
It's got its pros and cons, yeah.
It's kind of neat though. Like you go to the airport, so we fly around, we go to Starbucks at the airport, always tastes like Starbucks. You know what you're getting.
There is another benefit to Starbucks though. And we ran into this in Munich, different show, where we were at some little local German coffee shop, and like all their sizes went up to like 8 ounces. I'm like, 8-ounce coffee, right? So I'm like, there's a Starbucks down the street. I'm assuming they got normal Starbucks sizes. So we went there instead and got a 20 ounce. So it's like nice.
Yeah, they're not used to us Americans with, we're not like in Italy drinking sips of, what do you call it? Espresso or France or whatever, where they do the espressos after a meal, Let's have 2 espressos. No, let's have a 20 ouncer. That's the way it rolls in the U.S., I guess. I don't know. I suppose there's other countries that are like that. Don't know. Maybe the Europeans are in less quantity, more quality.
Well, they do that with like Coke too. They have like 8-ounce Coke bottles in Germany.
So I'd be there in the morning, right? And it's early and blah, blah, blah. And there's people there already, and mostly younger generation, of course, because it's a Starbucks. And they had like an upstairs with seating area. And I look around and I'm sitting there, and I don't have headphones on because they're all at the show, right? I'm not bringing them with me. It's too early for me anyway. I don't care. I got to listen to music all day long with them, so I'm good. I don't bring headphones to Starbucks at 6 a.m., right? So I'm sitting there, and I noticed that all the people there, the youngsters, let's call them because they're younger than me, right? They're all to themselves. Each one's got their own laptop, right? And they're doing what they're doing individually. They're like, there's no groups talking. It's very quiet. It's like being in a freaking library, right? And every one of them, most of them have in-ears in or something where, they're just, you can't even hear what they're listening to. You don't hear anything. And in fact, come to find out that was in Japan, that's one of their things is they're like, they don't want to bother anybody else. So they're purposely listening to music in ways that you can't hear them. And they like to be to themselves. They don't, I guess they isolate themselves when they're in public like this for whatever reason. That's their way. But anyway, it just came up with that today and thought about it, and while we were getting some Starbucks for today. But yeah, I mean that's kind of it's kind of like that here though. When you think about the coffee shops locally here, if the people aren't in a group talking to each other, they probably have earbuds in or,
probably AirPods.
Yeah, an Apple device or something like that. I mean that's the way it is, they're listening to music, drinking a beverage at the coffee shop, and
reading emails.
Yeah, or doing homework. Like they're in college, so they're doing study, research, whatever. They're doing homework, and it's kind of cool, I guess, when you think about it. It's a different, it's that versus all right. Where would you be? Like if you weren't in the coffee shop, where else would you be? I mean, like let's say you're in college. Like, where'd you hang when you went to UB?
Where nobody else was.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the way it was in Japan. They're like to themselves.
Right. Well, it depends on what your motivations are, what you're trying to get done. And sometimes there's a reason why you want to be in a group. Sometimes there's a reason why you want to be in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think the location of the coffee shop probably has a big impact on what the motivation is for people to be there. It's if you go to like the city over here, Buffalo,
and you go to a coffee shop there, a lot of times you'll find that people are in a coffee shop there during normal business hours, especially to get away from work.
Yeah.
And then, they typically want to be alone. But sometimes on weekends, that's not the case. Really depends on the time of day, the location, and things like that.
Yeah, I suppose also there's probably a lot of, people like couples that go there just to either meet or hang out or, just spend an hour and get a beverage of a non-alcoholic nature, during the day.
But no, UB would have both options because, like, in the library, you'd have, like, big tables where people would do, like, group projects. But then they'd also have little cubicles where you could be individual. Close the door, you're in your own little world, do whatever,
Well, I know I've heard of people, like, they wear headphones. It's kind of like, it's not only because you want to be to yourself, but you're also signaling to others, right? That I want to be by myself. I have these on. I'm not, I can't hear you type situation.
Depends on where you are, though.
Yeah, well,
in New York City, that doesn't work.
Yeah, well, right.
Where it really happens a lot is, like, grocery stores, right? You see people wearing, like, AirPods or whatever, and they're just, like, in their own world, getting what they need to do and getting out of there, right?
True.
They don't want to talk to
They're
anyone.
almost like dancing through the store to the
like
music to get, to do what they got to do.
Focused on getting out of the store.
Yeah, right. Get in, get out, but it's true. It is a way. It is a way that to be by yourself, to be yourself, to be without. It also, the music also masks the outside environment or noise too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can adjust the volume accordingly, but if it's louder out there, you turn the volume up, and that loudness goes away. And you mentioned New York City. It's like that's part of it if you think about it, especially with
a lot of things happening sometimes.
Yeah. So if you combine music with noise cancellation, that's a win-win in areas like that. Or if you're on a train, some noisy environment.
Yeah, major city, you just can't get away from people, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to be in amongst people and noise and cars, you can
I remember
get in your own little world.
Who was it? Was it Michael that sent us a dB meter showing the trains in China were approaching 120 dB. They were in the teens of noise, sitting on a train, whatever the hell this train is. I don't know what it's doing to create that kind of noise. Right?
Moving.
Yeah, it's one of those fast bullet train things over there, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's nuts. You'd go deaf sitting in a train. You have to have earplugs or noise cancellation just to survive, your ears to survive the ride in a train. And so I would assume unless you're already deaf, that's a necessity. You don't get in the train without wearing something that somehow could noise canceling headphones wipe out 115 dB?
Well, they don't.
But isn't that using pressure to kill pressure type thing?
Yeah, obviously you have mechanical attenuation.
So it's got it. So isn't it going to hurt anyway?
It's not hearing protection.
Right. No, it won't protect your hearing.
So technically, you really need earplugs, and that's even a best case scenario.
You need 3M work tunes.
Yeah, you need 3M work tunes. Is that what you need?
Yeah.
And what are those good for?
26 or something.
That's as good as you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about
they have better than that, but they get so bulky. They're huge.
Oh, specifically with like the gel pads or something. You said
gel pads.
Yeah. Anyway, let's raise a toast to Starbucks. Thanks for giving us beverages while we're here and while we're away. And cheers, everyone.
Please don't clink, but
no, think. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Thanks.